Howdy, my name is Daxio, and this is Plugged In News. In today's pin update, we have Governor Cuomo signs a bill legalizing recreational marijuana, Wisconsin Supreme Court ends the mask mandate, and New York documents shows Floyd had a lethal amount of fentanyl in his system. Let's get right into that. Alright, for our first story today, this comes from the New York Post. It's sort of like a last-ditch effort by Cuomo. It's Governor Cuomo signs bill legalizing recreational marijuana in New York. Governor Andrew Cuomo on Wednesday signed a bill legalizing recreational marijuana in New York. The move comes after the state legislature greenlit the Marijuana Regulation and Taxation Act after hours of debate late Tuesday. This is a historic day in New York, one that rights the wrongs of the past by putting an end to harsh prison sentences, embraces an industry that will grow the Empire State's economy, and prioritizes marginalized communities so that those that have suffered the most will be the first step to reap the benefits, Cuomo said in a statement. Certain parts of the new law go into effect immediately. Anyone with a previous marijuana conviction that would now be legal under the law will have the rap expunged or be resentenced. And New Yorkers will now legally be allowed to possess up to 3 ounces of cannabis outside the home and 5 pounds at home, and can smoke pot in public where smoking tobacco is permitted. However, smoking weed is not permitted inside schools, workplaces, or cars. The law takes cannabis off the controlled substances and allows those who are 21 and older to use the drug freely. Legal marijuana could be sold in licensed dispensaries as soon as next year. The bill also establishes the Office of Cannabis Management to implement a regulatory framework that covers medical, adult use, and cannabinoid hemp. It also expands the state's existing medical marijuana and cannabinoid hemp programs. But it will be some time before stores hawking legal weed appear in state. Cities, towns, and villages may opt out of allowing adult-use cannabis retail dispensaries or on-site consumption licenses by passing a local law by December 31st, 2021, or 9 months after the effective date of legislation. The localities, however, cannot opt out of the adult-use legalization of cannabis. 2 mayors on Long Island have already vowed to do so in their municipalities. The adult-use cannabis industry in the state has the potential to bring in $350 million in annual taxes and create 30,000 to 60,000 jobs across the Empire State, officials have said. All cannabis taxes will be deposited into the state's Special Cannabis Revenue Fund, with 40% going to education, 40% going to the Community Grants Reinvestment Fund, and 20% to the Drug Treatment and Public Education Fund. I mean, this is a good story because, they should legalize weed. They should legalize it all over the United States. That's my personal opinion. But this is just sort of a last-ditch effort by Cuomo to make himself seem good or make himself seem like he did something. Because he killed 15,000 people, 15,000 plus people. We're never going to forget that, Cuomo. Never. All right, and for our next story today, this comes from Fox News by the Associated Press. It's Wisconsin Supreme Court strikes down Dem governor's mask mandate. The Wisconsin Supreme Court on Wednesday struck down Governor Tony Evers' statewide mask mandate, ruling that the Democrat exceeded his authority by issuing the order. The 4-3 ruling from the conservative-controlled court is the latest legal blow to attempts by Evers to control the coronavirus. It comes after Republicans in the legislature voted to repeal the mask mandate in February, only to see Evers quickly reissue it. The court last May struck down Evers' safer-at-home order, saying that his health secretary did not have the authority for such an order. Evers' attempts to limit capacity in bars, restaurants, and other indoor places were also blocked by a state appeals court in October. In the latest case, the court ruled that any public health emergency issued by Evers is valid for just 60 days and can't be extended without legislative approval. Evers has argued that he can issue multiple health emergencies because of the changing nature of the ongoing pandemic. The mask order first took effect in August, and Evers extended it 4 times since then, most recently on February 4th, immediately after his legislature repealed it. Nearly 60 organizations opposed repeal of the mask mandate, including groups representing hospitals, doctors, nurses, EMTs, school board administrators, businesses, children unions, Milwaukee schools, American Indian tribes, pharmacists, firefighters, local health departments, senior citizens, church, and dentists. With no state order in place, it will be up to local government units to enact their own mask policies. Many communities had moved to enact local ordinances as the legislature looked to repeal the mandate. Mask orders are in place in cities including Milwaukee as well as Dane County, home to Madison. When the court struck down Evers' safer-at-home order in May, it was controlled by a 5-2 conservative court. In that ruling, conservative Justice Brian Hagedorn sided with the liberals in the minority in arguing the order should not be struck down. But during oral arguments in the mask case on November 16th, Hagedorn questioned Evers' authority to renew health emergencies beyond the 60-day limit. He said it was an extraordinary grant of short-term power to the governor, and seems like the legislator wanted to allow for only a short period of time. Nobody's questioning the governor's sincerity in trying to do what he thinks is right here, Hagedorn said then, but he can only do with what the powers he's been given to do. Alright, and for our last story today, this comes from care11.com. This is by Lou Ragus, and it's new court docs say George Floyd had a fatal level of fentanyl in his system. It goes on to read, new documents filed in the George Floyd case give new information about the Hennepin County medical examiner's findings in Floyd's autopsy. Handwritten notes of a law enforcement interview with Dr. Andrew Baker, the Hennepin County medical examiner, said Floyd had 11 nanograms per milliliter of fentanyl in his system. If he were found dead at home alone and no other apparent causes, this could be acceptable to call an OD death. Have been certified with levels of 3, Baker told investigators. In another new document, Baker said that is a fatal level of fentanyl under normal circumstances. But then Baker added, I'm not saying this killed him. Defense attorneys for the officers have signaled they will argue Floyd died from the drugs and pre-existing health conditions. The new documents say Floyd had a heavy heart and at least one artery was approximately 75% blocked. Dr. Stephen Nelson, chairman of Florida's Medical Examiners Commission, who is not affiliated with the case, reviewed the new files and says that doesn't mean the drugs or health condition is what caused Floyd's death. We've all had cases where those kinds of levels come into play. You've got to look at the whole picture, Nelson said. It's one thing to die with something, it's another thing to die from something. The documents say Baker performed the autopsy before watching the videos of police restraining Floyd with Officer Derek Chauvin's knee on Floyd's neck because Baker wanted to avoid bias in his autopsy. In Baker's final report after watching the videos, he ruled Floyd's death a homicide caused by law enforcement subdual, restraint, and neck compression. The FBI asked the Armed Forces Medical Examiner to review Baker's autopsy, and they agreed with his findings, writing his death was caused by the police subdual and restraint, with cardiovascular disease and drug intoxication contributing. The next court hearing is scheduled for September 11th. Before the end of today's video, here's the heartwarming clip of the day.
Oh, he climbed right in.
Yo, thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you drop a like, drop a sub, drop a comment down below. Let me know how I'm doing. Let me know what I can do to improve. Don't forget to stay updated, and all facts, no cap. Peace out, boys.